Welcome to Living Life and Love. I'm your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. This is a global vitiligo awareness and education podcast. You will hear the true and authentic stories from people living with vitiligo. You'll also hear from their loved ones, medical professionals, licensed mental health therapists, relationship counselors, global vitiligo support foundations and organizations, community leaders, and so much more. Sit back and enjoy Living Life and Love. Once again, I'm your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. Welcome to Living Life and Love. I'm your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. So on today's show, I have two special guests, one recurring guest. That's James Smith. Welcome, James.
Hey, what's up, Fred? How's it going?
Doing well. Brandon Drakeford. Sorry, man, I messed your name up. You know how we mess stuff up.
It's all good. I'll charge it to your head, not your heart.
Absolutely. You might want to charge it to my stomach. I haven't had dinner yet, so I might be a little hungry. But fellas, I thank you for joining me. And we're gonna talk a little bit. So I don't know if y'all can see my shirt. I got the captain up here.
Right.
My captain in this moment, Captain America Sam Wilson.
I need that shirt in my life.
Hey, when it came out during Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I jumped on it. I saw the shirt. I was like, I want that. So I bought it. But we're going to talk a little bit about the movie itself, not necessarily do a review. If we want to find an actual review, there are plenty on Facebook, on YouTube, and some discussions on Facebook. But we're going to talk a little bit about symbolism, talk a little bit about what does it mean for us to have ourselves represented as Captain America. If I have some wings, I'll be out there flying right now. And there's just talk about the box office itself. Why is it important for us, meaning adults and kids, to see ourselves in these leading roles, and what does that mean? And then why some people are offended by that. I don't get it. But anyway, so yes, I am a Captain America fan. Those of you who know me, I like Steve Rogers. I don't like the Walker dude. I ain't like him. I'm not even a fan of Bucky as Cap, but everybody has their own favorite Captain America. But Sam Wilson is the latest Cap, and one of my favorites too. I go between Steve and Sam, and I feel like there's room to have both. And I like Isaiah. I want more of his backstory, but we'll get into that in a few. So James, I don't know. Have you had a chance to see the movie?
I haven't had a chance to see it yet.
Okay.
Full disclosure. Yeah.
Okay, not a problem. But you know enough to be able to have this discussion.
I totally understand the context, especially symbolism, things of that nature. Totally.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And Brandon, you had a chance to see it.
I did, yes.
What were your thoughts?
From a symbolism standpoint, I might have given like a high-level movie review.
Don't give a high level, because I know we're gonna pick it apart in certain places. But just your thought overall about the movie.
I enjoyed it. I actually plan on going back to see it sometime this coming week.
Okay.
One of the biggest things for me, and this is with any cinematic character, whether it's Sam playing Captain America, or if you go back a few years when Michael B. Jordan played the Human Torch,
right?
Or there's a Black Nick Fury. If you look, depending on which comic series you read, Nick Fury was a white guy, and then in the MCU it was Samuel L. Jackson.
Right.
So I think representation is very important in these roles, because oftentimes we don't always get the opportunity to see people that look like us. Right. See people that face the same challenges. If you look at the backlash that I can't even think of the brother Anthony Mackie got when he actually took on the role of Captain America, there are people calling him a DEI Captain America, calling Marvel woke, so on and so forth. That tells you never read the damn comics.
Right.
There you go. Boom.
And that's the part that irritates me, because it's accurate to what Marvel's been doing for years.
Absolutely.
So I think people are upset that the status quo has been broken. No, it's blonde hair, blue-eyed Steve Rogers. Sam didn't take the super serum. He's not Captain America. He doesn't believe in the same things. Captain America fights for the side of what's right.
Right.
Even if that means going against the U.S. government. Right. He's always going to be on the side of right. He has that moral compass. And anyone that takes on the mantle, for lack of a better term, as far as being Captain America, you have to embody those same qualities. It's really that simple for me. So that was my biggest takeaway as far as seeing someone that looks like me in that particular role.
Cool. Hey, and I've had the chance to see it twice.
Oh wow.
And
So it's
each
that
time
time, okay.
I enjoyed it the same each time. And with this movie, you know, I see so much of, you have the super soldier Captain America, that's Steve Rogers, and you tried it with John Walker, didn't work. You know, he didn't have the moral compass. So now you have, you know, Sam Wilson, who does not have the super soldier serum, but he is a soldier who's well trained. And to me, I feel like that's the biggest difference, because you're seeing Sam Wilson, the average guy, so to speak. He doesn't have the drug in him. And I'm gonna say it up front. Super soldier serum is a drug. He did not need the drugs, but he was able to hold his own based on his training with the wings, training as a military soldier. He has the moral compass. Yes, he recognized in the movie he's in over his head, you know, in some situations, but it doesn't stop him, you know. And to me, when I watch it, it is a reflection of us as a people, because, you know, we sometimes could be in over our heads in some situations, but we never give up. We don't stop. We don't say, you know what, I can't do this because, you know, I lost my job. I can't do this because they don't see me the same way. I don't do this because my skin is brown. No, we keep moving forward. And that's how I see Sam. Yeah, you may question at times, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? But you still move forward. And that was my biggest takeaway with the movie. And he didn't need all that, although he thought about it, you know, and that's how we are sometimes. Yeah, so maybe I need this little performance enhancing drug to make me do. No, you don't. No, you don't. You got everything you need.
Yeah.
James, your thoughts? I know you haven't seen the movie, but just in general.
Oh yeah, man. So like what you said, like even with the him not taking the serum, that's also a symbolic of African Americans. We're expected to have the same level of production,
Right.
but without the privilege of serum, right?
Right.
But no, and I know you guys are going to hit on it a little bit. Like I said, I haven't seen the movie, but I'm thoroughly familiar with the history of Captain America and what Brother Drakeford said earlier. If you read,
Right.
right, you read.
Wait a minute. Hold on, James. Hold on. Say that one part again. If you what?
If you read,
People, y'all need to start reading.
yeah, and then, but even after you do read, cognitive dissonance kicks in, right?
Absolutely.
Because Isaiah Bradley, anybody
Yes.
that knows that the history of Captain America, they know about Isaiah Bradley. And so when you have these discussions, I think what happens is that we have been socially conditioned to believe that anything that is not white, male, or straight is not American,
Right.
right? And so what happens is that when you put somebody like the brother in to the role of Captain America, who totally is reflective of the first one, people who are ignorant and don't know, they have a backlash because in their mind that belongs to us,
Right.
right? And so it's like you're taking a part of our identity, and so of course they're going to come out also he's a DEI or it's woke and things of that nature. When in reality, you just going back to the foundation.
Hey, you know what? And we're gonna jump to Brandon in just a second. I've seen so many reviews of people are upset. This is not my Captain America. No, he's not. He's not replacing Steve Rogers. He's replacing the symbolism of Captain America. He. I guess if they wanted him to be Corporal America or Sergeant America, they would have been okay. But to be Captain America wasn't good enough. And if you watch the movie, you'll understand he is good enough to be Captain America. Yeah, he's gonna take some blows, he's gonna take some punches and bruises and cuts and stuff. That's a character. You know, you don't want to have the character that's so invincible that nothing ever happens. It, you know, makes it a boring movie. Although I've heard people say, "Oh, the movie was boring," because you went in it with the wrong lenses.
Yeah,
you know.
there you go.
Yeah, and listening to other people tear this movie apart before they even seen it. Yeah. Oh, it's the worst movie ever. Seriously? You've seen every movie out there, but it's the worst one, but you haven't seen it yet. You know, it's like, come on, y'all. Brandon, you want to jump in?
Where do I want to start? Anyone that's followed the MCU since 2008 when the first Iron Man came out up until I'll use Endgame because this is you see where I'm going. Anyone that saw Endgame, what happened in the last 5 minutes of that movie? Steve Rogers gave him the shield.
He did. Yep.
And he said, "What? This isn't mine." He goes, "Yes, it is. Here you go." So he literally passed the torch, for lack of a better term. And if anyone watched the Falcon and Winter Soldier series on Disney Plus, he was practicing with the shield. He was trying to get into that role. He
Right.
was trying to understand what it means to be Captain America, right? So for people to Mark's point, to try to rip it apart and say it was the worst movie ever, it wasn't. Was it the best? No, but it was far from the worst. I think the worst, if we're being totally honest, was probably the second Thor movie.
Yes, I agree.
The second Thor movie was horrible. That's my least favorite as far as the MCU movies go. So you can't unfairly pick it apart without going in there with an open mind. Now I get it, to each his own. We all have our personal preferences.
Absolutely.
But to make these generalizations or assumptions based off the skin color of the person that portrayed a fictional character,
right?
Give me a break.
And that's
give me a break.
Right. That's the big problem. I think people take these fictional characters to heart like they're real people. No, it's a fictional character. We mentioned Nick Fury. When Samuel Jackson saw that they were using his likeness in the Marvel Comics, which was the Ultimate Universe, he was on somebody's show and they were talking about it. He said his lawyer or publicist is gonna sue them. He's like, no. Let me see the picture. He said, oh yeah, that's me. Call Marvel. And pretty much, long story short, Sam Jackson is Nick Fury. Do we still have the other Nick Fury? Yes. Two different universes, but people see the skin color and get upset. Oh no, he can't be Nick Fury. Oh, what was it? Secret Invasion was the worst series ever. It wasn't the greatest, but I saw some good in it. I enjoyed it. I mean, if I need escapism, that's what I'm going into it for. I'm not going into it to say, oh, this character's white, so I can't watch it, or this character's black, so I have to watch it. We get so tied into the ethnicities of these characters, and they're fictional. They're not real people. Captain America is a symbol of a character that represents, it's supposed to be like you said, the moral compass of America, not necessarily the government itself, but doing the right thing, making the right choices, even when it's hard to do.
That's it. And you made an interesting point, Brother Braxton. As you say, you use certain things to escape. Treat it as such. This is a 2.5, 3 hour escape from everything else that's going on in this country.
Right.
Whether it's watching Captain America or watching your favorite movie or, hell, I like pro wrestling. We all know that's fake.
Right.
But that's my 2-3 hour escape every Monday night. Hey,
Brandon, hold on, man. How dare you say wrestling is fake? You mean I can't jump off the top rope while you got your back turned to me and jump on your neck and flip you? I mean, come on, man. I thought it was real. I can't give you the people's elbow.
I mean, it's really choreographed. I'll give you that. But
I used to watch it. I used to watch wrestling.
I still watch it. I mean, I got 2 championship belts hanging up on my wall down here in my man cave. Like, I'm a true fan. But
it's entertainment, right?
Right, and that's the whole point. It's entertainment. If it's not your cup of tea, I get it. But to be up in arms over a fictional character, whether it's Anthony Mackie playing Captain America, or I can't remember the young lady's name, the young lady that played Little Mermaid a few years ago.
Little Mermaid. What's that girl's name?
The singer. It'll come back to me
Bailey,
like there we go. The Bailey sister. Yes, let's call.
Or even they just remade a version of Wizard of Oz. One of the witches was black. People were up in arms about that. Let it go. I mean, it no one's trying to replace the original. If that's what that's your thing. That's what you want to stick with. Cool. I don't knock you for it, but I'm not going to attack your blonde hair, blue eyed, whatever. Don't attack my brown skin Captain America. Don't attack my brown skin Nick Fury. If Little Mermaid wants to be a brown girl with red hair, so be it. People still pay money to see it.
Right, because she is a fish.
Look,
I've seen many color fish in the sea. I mean, they're not all one color. I mean,
I've never seen a Caucasian fish.
Look, let me tell you, man. And like I said, I have gathered a very unique perspective living here in Duplin County over the last 16, 17 years. And what a lot of people don't realize is that there are a lot of our, how can I say it, our white brethren um, who are living in not good so good conditions, I can say, just like anybody else,
Right.
you know. And when it comes to things like that, it's actually a psychological boost,
Yeah.
right? To like when you are seeing like you're being passed by or you're being left behind, at least I can have this.
Right,
Oh,
right.
this is one more thing they're taking away from me. And that's a dynamic, even if you look, for instance, if you look at how when they rename Fort Bragg or rename
Yeah.
the Gulf of America, right? That's for that's the surface stuff, right?
Right.
So there's always going to be any time that you put, so like I said before, if I make like I'm regurgitating, anytime that you put the global majority, right, uh, in positions that people have been conditioned to believe that's reserved for our white brothers per se, there's always going to be a lessening of, because it two things are intersecting. First, they think that that's supposed to be for them, and second, they clearly believe that there's an inferiority when it comes to our melanin content.
Yeah.
So when those two things intersect, hence those comments that you see in backlash for people who not have even seen the movie, but
Right.
that made the deduction that it's the worst ever because it's intersectionality of what they think should be white and what they feel about the inferiority of people who are blessed with this melanin. Right.
And, you know, even going back to the movie itself, if they really listen to the content, sometimes we go in, we see the action, but we're not listening to what's being said. Even in Falcon and Winter Soldier, Sam did not think he deserved to have the shield. That's why he gave it up in the beginning. He was like, no, this is not my shield. It belongs to Steve, you know? But then eventually realizing after they gave it to somebody else who was unstable, mentally unstable, really, John Walker, what he did went against the whole code of Captain America. And Sam and Bucky fought to get that shield back. And then eventually he decided, I'm going to be Captain America, you know. And, you know, some people had an issue with the training montage. They can't show him training for months. It has to be quick. They're like, oh, how does he learn how to flip? How does he learn how to do this? You know, let me say this. I was watching somebody else's review, and they were two brothers, and one was tearing apart Sam being able to do the agility moves and all that stuff. And I'm sitting there going, have you not watched Instagram and TikTok? The things that we can do as people? You got people that are not trained that can do parkour. They can do flips off the wall. They can do tumbles, flips. And all. I said, who says this guy can't do it? We don't know. We don't know what his childhood was like in Louisiana. He, you know, because his character's supposed to be from Louisiana. He might have been flipping off of trees and doing flips in the yard with his friends and learn these skills. Like we are self-taught on a lot of things. And we did find out later he was training with Isaiah to be able to fight better. So he had, was it 3 years difference between Falcon and the Winter Soldier in this movie?
I want to say yes.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do in 3 years. There's a lot of training that's involved. So to think this man can't do, come on now.
Hey, well, again, you know, we're talking to the mindset, right?
Yeah.
Brother Brickford, you could be on a job. You can have a PhD, two PhDs, a master's, and then if you turn a piece of paper and it has a T not cross, see, we told you that was a DEI hire.
Right.
So anything when you're understanding the mindset of the who's giving the critique, I understand the mindset of who's doing the critiquing.
Yeah.
So when I hear these things, it totally makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. It can be perfect.
Absolutely. And see, I don't want to take away from anybody's love for Steve Rogers because, like I said, I like the character. I like both characters, but I think each one brings something different to the table. But you have to look at it from the beginning. One accepted the role of Captain America after he was juiced up. He still wasn't fully trained because if you look at his skill set before getting the juice, he was
He was the weakling soldier, but he had heart, you know, and he had a strong moral compass of doing what's right and not giving up. Once he got juiced, that juice must have given him all the abilities to fight, because he became a good fighter. He's a brawler, you know.
Yeah.
But Sam brings something different because he's a pilot. He can fly. He's a thinker. He likes to talk to people, because not every situation warrants using your fist, you know. And that's something I teach my students all the time. I said, this can't solve everything. There are times you got to use this in here. I said, because this is only going to create more problems. You know, you got your fist up, you want to fight somebody. Okay, you beat them today. What happens tomorrow? They come back. Sometimes they come back stronger. I said, it's a continuous cycle. Sometimes you got to use your brain and talk to people, use some logic, and you can and figure out what the problem is and be able to solve it. And that's what I like about Sam, you know. Y'all can keep talking. Looks like I froze for a second. Yeah, but y'all keep talking.
Yeah. Well, look, brother Drakeford, you see what Brother Braxton did when he started talking about Steve Rogers? What do you say? He had heart. He had character. See, that's what he led with, right? So that content of character, that kind of thing, that's the difference. And I hate to go this loop all the time, but when you have people that are looking at things through purely racial lenses, and you think the people with melanin content are less than, you're always going to have a negative critique. I hate to keep beating that horse to death, but that's to the uncomfortable truth to the core of it.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, you're not wrong. You hit the nail on the head with that one. And what's more disturbing is it's going to be a reoccurring thing. Why? Because these same people that are critiquing, you know, throwing tomatoes at it, writing these rotten reviews online, eventually they're going to procreate. And they're going to teach their kids the same thing, if they're not already. And some of these people are teaching their grandkids the same thing. So it's definitely a vicious cycle that unfortunately will never be broken. So in 20 years, when Iron Man is played by a black man, or you have a black Professor X or a black Wolverine or whatever, it's going to be the same thing. They're going to weaponize whatever the new term is, because in 20 years from now, it won't be DEI.
Right, it'll be a new term.
They'll find something else to weaponize and use to. And it's always funny because 9 out of 10 times, if you ask someone to define what DEI or woke are, crickets.
Yeah,
they're literally regurgitating talking points that they heard from their orange faced leader, or they heard from some pundit on Fox News, or what's the one guy? He's famous for this. He's always got something. Ben Shapiro. I'm not sure if any of y'all are familiar.
I know Ben. Ben, he can.
Oh my God.
He can brilliantly articulate ignorance in a way I've never seen.
We're gonna start here. We're gonna switch gears just a little bit from our conversation. Let's talk a little bit about this one quote from the movie. And I know, once again, James, you haven't seen it, but I feel like this was a powerful quote between Sam and Bucky. It says Steve gave people something to believe in, because what was happening, Sam was like, you know, downing himself, you know, Steve, stop alien invasions and blah, 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 and all this stuff. But
2 of them.
2 of them, yes. And so it says Steve gave people something to believe in, and you gave them, this is Bucky saying to Sam, that you gave them something to aspire to, you know. And I do like that, because believing in something is one thing, but wanting to be like somebody is another. You know, we have a lot of beliefs. Some people believe in Santa Claus, but not everybody wants to be Santa Claus. You know, what are your thoughts about that? And then we're gonna go to one more thing, and we'll wrap things up after that. Anybody's thought about?
I'll jump in first. So my takeaway from that particular quote is, you know, if you look at how Steve Rogers portrayed Captain America, you know, he did his thing over here, but, you know, Sam, in this regard, you know, there are kids that want to be like him.
Right.
There are kids that look at him as a role model. They idolize him. And to what we were talking about earlier, he didn't take the super soldier serum. He didn't have all this advanced training and, you know, so on and so forth. Heart and his moral compass are what got him to where he is. So you can aspire to be that. No different than when we were kids. You always had someone to say, "Hey, I want to be president of the United States." And if they looked like us, they got laughed at or there were stickers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in 2008, there was a person that looked like us that got elected. So now that gives you something to aspire to. It shows you that these things are attainable if you really put in the work, keep your nose clean, and do what you have to do. It's an attainable goal. No different than, hey, when I bought my first car at 17, I had a summer job. I worked through the school year. I saved up. Getting my car was an attainable goal. It wasn't something like realistic. So that was my takeaway from that. He gives small children or people that look like us an attainable goal. I may not necessarily be Sam, but I can aspire to be just like him or as close to him as possible.
Right. And it's not going to be easy. The road is never easy.
No, and if everything was easy, then everybody would do it.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
James, your thoughts? Thank you, Brandon.
Thanks. From that quote, man, I'm telling you, it kind of makes me think that when think about people I've known or read about, and it's like, yes, the difference is when someone gives you something to believe in, you're right, it kind of modifies your behavior a little bit, but the thing about when someone gives you something to aspire to, that's transformative. Right. And it's kind of like the Black Panther character. I don't mean to switch gears or anything. It was transformative in a way, a cultural transformation in a way that it caused state legislators to start trying to write laws and say you couldn't take kids to movies.
Right.
that happened in North Carolina.
Did it really?
Yeah. Kids came back from school calling people colonizers and all that stuff like that.
I got a shirt that says colonizer somewhere.
but the thing about it is, when you have something to aspire to, that's transformational. And I think that's the difference. That's the difference.
Absolutely. And and with all this, with superheroes and all that, I feel like it's important for representation to be there. I know we're going into a phase in our country where we don't want representation. We don't want diversity. We don't want kids that are Black and brown and other kids to see people that look like them, whether it's, their skin color, whether it's their culture, whether it's, somebody may look different, like me having vitiligo. Yeah, why can't I see a lead character with vitiligo on the screen? These are the things that people look forward to. They want to see this, but then you got another section of the country that says, no, we only want to see these characters on the screen and only these characters can be represented. But it's important for us to have people that look like us, like Black Panther. That was important. That was powerful. Yes. This movie to me is an important movie. It's powerful. That's why people are attacking it. But then you think about other characters that we've had, comic book characters. We've had Storm. There's Luke Cage. There's so many that we can look at as lead characters, but will they ever have their lead? Luke Cage did. Why can't we get a great representation of Storm? Not to say that other ladies were not good, but I want a great representation. Actually, I wanted it to be Angela Bassett, but I think we kind of we might have missed that mark, but maybe not. Maybe not. We missed it because she played
almost 70 now.
Yeah, I know.
And then she was T'Challa's mom in the Black Panther series. So.
Well, hold on now. Robert Downey Jr. could come back.
Well, yeah, I mean, the MCU said multiple universes.
Right.
I believe in the comics, Storm married Black Panther.
She did, yeah.
So, maybe in another universe, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we're going to get there eventually. And then, one thing about Falcon, since we are talking about Captain America, he was always the sidekick in the beginning. And that's why a lot of our characters, to me, seem to start off as sidekicks. Oh, you can be my sidekick. You can be my, my plus one over here that can help out, but you can't be the lead. We can be the lead. John Walker had Battlestar. Battlestar didn't make it through the whole series, Now we have Captain America, and now his partner, I'm not even going to call him a sidekick. His partner now is the Falcon. what I see though in that movie was very diverse. Think about the lead characters. You got so you got the Isaiah Bradley character,
Mm-hmm.
The Falcon, you got Captain America, and then you had the agent that was supporting him, which Sabra is supposed to be their name. And then you also had Sam's love interest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have Sam's love interest that they really didn't develop in the story, but in the comic books, the lady that was working underneath the president was a love interest.
Mm.
The widow.
Y'all go ahead, and I got one more thing to share that kind of bothers me, but y'all go ahead and kind of give your input on that. Thoughts?
Brother Smith, I'm gonna tag you in on this one.
Oh, so okay. I thought you were tagging me in afterwards. No, like we said before, man. With these characters, especially in the Marvel universe, here's one thing that MCU or Marvel comics understand, that the people, Brother Braxton, that are hating on the new Captain America character. Here's what they don't understand. Marvel understands numbers.
Yes.
And they understand the audience, right? And they understand that when it comes to population and who's actually going to see these movies, right? Some of the younger generations, more diverse, that are in a majority of those people that are actually complaining about it, they're becoming the minority in this country, right?
Yeah.
So I dare say in about 20 years, you may have an Hispanic Captain America.
Yeah. And
right?
That's the thing. Anybody can be the character.
Yeah. So to diverge a little bit, I just think that Marvel Universe, when they make these characters and put these leads in, they're looking at the business dynamic, and they're understanding that with the demographic shifts, who's actually going to watch these movies, they're making a clear business decision when they make these decisions.
Absolutely. And if I'm not mistaken, in the comics, there's probably a what if, but I think in some universe there was a female Latino Captain America character.
Wow.
Yeah, I think they've done that if I'm not mistaken, but I can't tell you which universe. I'm not that deep into the comics like that.
Well, you deeper than me, couldn't.
I mean, there's even I did have this comic, and I don't know if I still do. There was a Native American Captain America. That was a what if episode. What if
which would be the most
issue.
Appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely. So Marvel has dipped into various versions of Captain America, but I think the general public's not ready for that because they have a mindset of this is who he is, can't be anybody else but this one person. No. Here's the problem I have. I was sharing with you guys, I have a problem. Excuse me. All these heroes that we have outside of Black Panther, and I'm talking about on the big screen, the brothers can't get no love. There is never a relationship that develops for these characters. Think about Rhodey. He's just a soldier. That's it. He ain't no family, just a soldier. That's it. We did find out that Sam has a sister, but Bucky was trying to pull up on a sister. You know, they flirt with each other the whole series. But once again, you got the lead character, no love interest. Captain America, he retired to be with his love interest. Iron Man had a kid with his love interest. They got married. Ant-Man had somebody. You know, it's like everybody has somebody. But for Sam, he's too busy running around chasing the heroes, hanging out with his boys. But I felt like they could have developed it a little bit more between the young lady that was President Ross's whatever her role was, secretary or security rather, excuse me, not secretary, but security. I think they could have developed something. Maybe he could have said, hey, after all this over, let's go get something to eat or something. Like at least show that he has an interest. But it's like, once again, with our characters. Now, Luke Cage, he had his love interest. If you watch this series, Luke Cage, Luke Cage had Misty Knight and Jessica, what's that name? Drew.
Luke Cage was a hoe.
I have to bleep that part out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
but yeah, Luke Cage got around. He did his thing.
Yeah.
But on average, when you watch some of these characters, they never get a love interest. Now, I did like Black Lightning. The only problem I had with it was, could we just drop the black and just call him Lightning? I mean, we know what color he is. Come on now. But that was a trope they did back in the days. It was a black character. They had to call him Black something.
Mhm.
Like we didn't know. You know. Now he had a whole family, and they all, except for the wife, when they showed their relationship, they showed the problems they had. They show how things develop. Only problem I had with the whole series is that, nobody knew that this principal in the school was the hero. All they had on was some ski goggles, and nobody could recognize him. I know somebody's gonna try to tear this apart and say, well, his goggles made people not recognize his face, but it was a small town. Like, we know what people look like.
Yeah.
You mean walking down the street, somebody's not gonna say, hey, that looked like the principal. He's the only dude that size. He's the only dude in the whole town about 6'5". Come on now.
They're taking liver license.
Listen, if we can recognize Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with or without goggles, I don't think his brother was any different. You know what I mean?
Right.
But,
yeah, absolutely. But I do hope going forward, when we start looking at more superhero movies, they continue with the diversity and not fall into the trap of, we can't because this person in that's in the government says we can't do this, or we'll lose this funding. Sometimes you got to step outside your comfort zone. Sometimes you got to do what Captain America would do and go against the system, because it's the right thing to do, So,
and one
ahead, Brandon.
One thing I'll say about Marvel. Marvel is going to capitalize on any opportunity they see to monetize things. And with this latest Captain America movie, if Marvel stays true to what they've been doing with these movies, it's going to be a trilogy.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe they'll develop those characters in maybe the second or third installation of Sam's trilogy as Captain America.
Right.
You know what I mean? So with this one, yes, he played Captain America. You introduced him to the masses in that particular capacity. You also introduce another character, Red Hulk, right? Those have both been kind of building. So I'm hoping that this comes to fruition. But like I said, anytime I've seen the Marvel movie, they always kind of build.
Yeah.
And that way, when you get to the end of the trilogy or however many they choose to do, you have those callbacks, right? I use Endgame, for example. When everyone came back, they made a callback to Captain America on your left. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So just little nuances that people may not catch if you haven't seen all the movies.
Right.
You know what I mean? So hopefully they kind of trend in that direction. But getting back to what we were talking about, I think we'll see more diversity, in these movies going forward, because at the end of the day, the Caucasian segment of this country is either being close to not being the majority, or they're no longer the majority.
Yeah,
right.
Precisely.
So, what you portray on screen, whether it's the silver screen or the TV screen at home, it has to be reflective of the country that you live in.
Yeah,
right.
Everything's not going to be a straight white, blonde hair, blue eyed male. So those days are over. Even if you look at TV commercials now, they're showing commercials with interracial couples.
Absolutely.
They're showing commercials that involve the LGBTQ community.
Yes.
They're reflecting what we actually see in our everyday lives. And I think Marvel's been pretty good at that. And I keep going back to Endgame. So with the Russo brother, he had a cameo in Endgame.
Right.
He played a homosexual male in the movie.
Yeah.
He talked about going on a date with a guy and how he cried before dessert came, whatever the situation was. Right. So you can get out because you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
So, so just those little things. I think they're aware of what's going on, and hopefully the people that make the decisions for this country right now won't interfere with that. Let us have our 2.5, 3 hour escape. Let us, suspend, disbelief and just lose ourselves in these movies.
Right.
Like maybe someone will get a Disney Plus subscription and just binge watch whatever, over a course of 3-4 days and just kind of escape from things. And people have to understand this is entertainment. It's not
entertainment.
real life. You can't be up in arms and upset about fictional characters.
You better focus on your job.
Well,
trying to tell you.
Yeah.
If you still got it.
Right, absolutely. And Marvel has done a lot of diversity, and it didn't always go well because what people will do is review bomb these properties to say it's always the worst, like the Marvels, because it featured
that made me
the 3 women. But it also was important moving forward with the X-Men universe. Ms. Marvel introduced Kamala Khan, and we learn about her culture and introducing mutants, but yet people didn't like that show because I guess the diversity. Shang-Chi, I enjoy that too, but once again, you're learning about another culture, So Marvel is throwing in some diversity, but I don't think people are really ready for it. Eternals did the same thing. I know people hated Eternals for whatever reasons, but it was a very diverse cast,
Wait till they do a live action Spider-Man with Miles Morales. People don't lose their minds over that.
Because it's live action.
I'm waiting for it.
And they'll probably have a theme song by Kendrick Lamar. And they really gonna hate that.
Let me imitate T-Pain.
but it's the truth that things are changing. They're shifting. Yes, when these characters were created, majority of them were not Black or any other culture. But then, of course, you got your Black Panther, and then you got Falcon, and you got Storm, you got Luke Cage, and then DC jumped on with your Jon Stewart and Cyborg, and you've got what is it Nubia? Wonder Woman's sister's Black, or half sister. I think she might be half sister. She's Black. So all these characters, Vixen, and you name it. But I think people are still not ready. I mean, Static Shock is great. I enjoy Static Shock. Or he just dropped the Static Shock. He just became Static after a while. But you have to understand, he came from the Milestone universe of comics, which I started reading. That was straight for us. That whole Milestone comics. I mean, every aspect to Icon and Rocket to Hardware, the Syndicate. I mean, it was us, the language, everything. And I think people just have to acknowledge that this is not the same world that it used to be. This is not the same country. Clearly not. In 2025 is not the same country. But there's so much that you can't get rid of. I don't care what you do. I don't care how much you try to oppress people. We're not the same people. We're different. And people are not going to stand for it. I don't care how much you feel like this person represents everybody in our country. No, our country is so diverse. Our families are diverse. Like you said, Brandon, you look at the commercials, you got a lot of mixed couples. So which one do you dislike? Do you dislike the wife, the husband, the child? Who do you dislike? Do you dislike it all? But then that means that anyway, that's your ignorance. I'm not even gonna go further. That's just ignorance.
So a funny thing, and I'm not sure if everyone's aware of this. Do people realize what the inspiration were behind the Professor X and Magneto characters?
I think, was it Nazi Germany or something like that? Was it? Hold up. Was it?
Now I know
Martin Luther King and Malcolm
X. Two different ideals coming together.
Okay.
One peaceful, the other one's like, no, by any means necessary. And then the X-Men itself was the diverse people you see out there, from every aspect of life. Yep.
So I say that to say
if
people really did their due diligence and looked at the backstories and kind of did their own research, they would understand these things. People that my Professor X is this or that. You do realize the inspiration behind that character, right?
Yeah. Stan Lee was on it, and Stan Lee, and what was the other gentleman's name? Stan Lee, and I can't remember his name. The other gentleman that we always give Stan Lee all the credit, but they worked together to create a lot of these characters, and a lot of these characters represented us, or a part of us, like the Hulk represented the rage inside of people.
Hey, I brother Drake, you mentioned about reading, right? We have 300 million people in this country. Who can guess what's the average reading grade level?
Six.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey the guy.
I made a post about that the other day.
Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, trust me, I get it.
Sorry.
I'm a third grade teacher. I get it.
And so we grew up in I'm 52, you're 52. How old are you, Mr. Drakeford?
I'm 41.
Never mind. Well, you might be.
I'm 52.
Look. Remember when we were in high school, right? Not college, high school. Remember our English teachers? When we had to do a research paper, we had to do the outline. We had to do the 2-3 sources. We had to get everything approved. We had to do endnotes and everything to turn that research paper in, right? And where I'm getting with this is that, unfortunately, this goes into one thing: lack of critical thinking.
Right.
Fused with ignorance and hatred towards people who are in the global. I call us global majority. Don't like saying minority. I say global majority, right? And so when you have that combination, this is already going to happen. And one more thing, when you talk about Marvel Universe being in on those numbers diversity, I believe personally, if the census would have been counted right, I think they're already the minority, to be honest with you. Just saying.
I believe it.
Yeah.
And I say that because sometimes I look at the makeup of my school. It is predominantly Black and Latino. And Black, that includes our students that come from African countries as well. And they make up the majority of my class, my students in my class. But when I'm riding in that area, like up by the mall and stuff, I know there's a little bit of everybody that lives in that area because I see the people. So I'm thinking, but we make up a lot of the citizens on that side of town. That's North Raleigh, but everybody always say South Raleigh, but North Raleigh too.
Right.
Look, Duplin County, right? You'll think Duplin County, overall Duplin County. My wife is principal at the Duplin Early College. That school is like 68-70% Hispanic, right? If you look at these schools out here in these rural areas, like I'm saying Chicopee, right? They are majority or have a heavy Hispanic population. So even in these areas here where you see all red as far as the voting, the demographics that I test, it's clearly a global majority who are in the majority in these areas or coming up soon. And like I said, that anxiety that people have about being the minority, and you take that anxiety and you're going to take my Captain America away too.
Right.
I can't take it.
The country as they know it is no longer there, and they don't know how to cope with that.
Yeah.
And
we'll keep reminding them.
Yeah, and the thing is that we got to remember, as the world changes, as time changes, guys, we're all here together. I mean, you mean all these generations, all these years, we still haven't learned that we have to work together to survive. We can sit here and say we don't need this race of people. We don't need that race of people. You eliminate one race, guess what? Society falls. I don't care which one you eliminate. Either way, it's going to fall. We all need each other for various reasons. And it's just weird where I'm looking now at what's happening in society with our government. And we're saying, because you believe in this, that everybody should have a seat at the table. You don't have a seat anymore. We're going to take your seat away. So now you have to figure out how to survive. Oh, you believe in this over here too? Good. We're going to take your seat and you won't get paid because you believe that everybody should be sitting over here. But yeah, everybody has something to offer to our employees, offer to our government, to the society. To me, that's the whole purpose of education. We're trying to build great citizens, but I don't think everybody believes in that. We believe in not having, I shouldn't say great citizens, or building people who can function within society. Let me put it that way. People who can function within society, but some people only believe that it should be one color though.
Yeah, and see, and that's where, and I know what you said about everybody needs everyone. I'm at a point now where it's like, I'm not dealing because I need you, but I need you on my terms, right?
Right.
And so it's like we a lot of time, and if I've been in this skin for 50 some years, so we understand the pressures, right?
Yeah.
And so I refuse to lower myself or appease to make somebody secure in their ignorance, right?
Right.
So if me working with you means I got less of myself so you can feel comfortable in holding on to these microaggressions or whatever, then we don't need you. But I understand the point.
Yeah,
though.
and I get what you're saying there too.
Yeah,
If I have to
definitely.
become something I'm not, then yeah.
Yeah.
But I also think about like something as small as a mechanic. Like there's a guy, Robbie, he was good with cars. Go there, talk to him, chat with him. I didn't care if he was white. He didn't care if I was black. But he would talk to you. Hey, you should have brought this car to me first and let me work on your car, because he was an older gentleman who was trying to survive, trying to live, and he treated everybody the same. No, that's not true, because I've seen him go off on some of his own folks. Yeah, I see. He if you showed him respect, that's what he showed you, and I think that's what we got to get back to, is respecting people. Not just who they are, but their values, their cultures, even if they speak another language. But we at a point now in this country that there's no respect for anything. Everything is about foolishness. Even up to the top. I mean, anytime you walk on the stage with a chainsaw, what are we showing our kids? I'm just saying, what example are we showing our kids? I know we've kind of got off on talking about Captain America, but it's all the same. Like, what are we showing our kids? Yeah.
No, you're right. Or you can go into the Oval Office with your 3-year-old son, and your 3-year-old son can tell the president, "You're not president."
Go away.
And shut your mouth. Shut up or something. He said. Well, I know he said something else in there. I can't say that. Yeah, but I can't say the other party said too. So
right. And the interesting thing about that is, kids, especially that young, they repeat what they heard someone else say.
Yes, they do.
So I promise you, he's heard his father say that at the dinner table or
somewhere,
wherever.
Yeah.
He's doing nothing but repeating what his father said. So that already tells you how much we use this.
Yeah.
I'm the president. I'm making the decision.
And that's precisely what he's doing. I've never seen, and that's where it goes to people not understanding how process and how this government is supposed to work. Because a person that could come in who is not being vetted, who is not going before Congress, who has not been interviewed or anything, who doesn't even he's not even employed by the government. He's not even employed. He hasn't filled out an application or anything. And he can come there and slash thousands, tens of thousands of jobs. Look, they fired everybody that watch over the nuclear stockpile.
We were just talking about that.
And they say, oops, what? Now we
made a mistake.
People. Yeah. So, but
with no names.
But the thing is, it's acceptable. See how people approve of this mediocrity, right? Approve of this, because it's not about whether they can do the job. They think just because of the melanin or the lack thereof content that they already have the superiority to do the right thing anyway. When in reality,
they're not making right choices, because everything they're doing is going to hurt this country in some form or fashion. It has already started hurting,
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, it's only going to get worse. I'll use Elon Musk as an example. People are like, oh, well, he did this with Tesla. He didn't invent Tesla. He bought the company and took credit for it. When he bought Twitter or X, whatever you call it now, a few years ago, for what, $4 or $5 billion? How much is that company worth now? And if people pay attention, he did the same thing when he bought Twitter. He came in, just fired everybody.
Yeah.
Got rid of folks, started bringing people in. The thing is, him and Mark Zuckerberg, they control the two biggest social media platforms right now, whether it be X or Facebook.
Right.
Your First Amendment right, it doesn't apply on those platforms.
Sure.
And I don't know if people realize this. The day after this man got elected, or it was either after the election or the inauguration, one of the two, on both platforms, you automatically follow Donald Trump now.
I saw that. I followed.
I had to physically go and unfollow.
It was something about his wife or something too. I got that stuff. I said, "What in the world is this here?"
Yeah.
Now I'm getting all these things with Republicans and everything to follow and stuff like that.
Well, now you understand why.
Clearly understand why. Yes, clearly.
So,
Yes.
So what does that tell you as far as what their actual agenda is? They're not interested in what's going to be beneficial for the country. It's literally the rich are going to get richer. We're going to control everything. You're going to bend to our will, and if you don't, there will be consequences.
Yeah.
Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. Sounds very familiar.
Yeah. And let me say one thing about, and then we're going to wrap things up in just a second, but one thing about us as a people, it's almost like, oh, here we go again. What else you got? Like every decade, it's another, what else you got? Okay. We go back, because I was having a conversation with somebody. They were talking about the country being great. And I asked, what decade hasn't been great for all people? Because even in the beginning of this country, it wasn't great for Native Americans. It wasn't great for Africans that were brought over here as slaves. It wasn't great for the Asians that were brought over here to work on the railroad. It wasn't great when, people had to fight for their civil rights. It wasn't great for people not being able to vote. It wasn't great for the crack epidemic. It wasn't great for, the AIDS epidemic. It wasn't great for any of these things. Every decade is something that happens, and then the language that they use to identify us changes. And now the latest thing I heard, he wants to put a little bit of money back in people's pockets, taken from the people that you fired. What? And people are like, oh, run me my coins, but that is somebody else's money.
See, that's like the drug dealer who come in your neighborhood and give out turkeys on Christmas.
Yep.
Yes. Yes. I'm gonna rehab the other 364 days out the year, but here, take this little. What's he saying? They get what, $5,000 to $8,000 each check?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe it when I see it.
Yeah. And on top of that, Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, James. No, go ahead.
And one quick point is that when he's coming in and cutting all these jobs, here's the thing. The only department that hasn't had a clean audit in 7 years is the Department of Defense. Elon Musk gets billions of dollars in contracts from the Department of Defense. So how is this person who was over slashing in government waste also has the Department of Defense who haven't had a clear audit where he gets billions from?
Right.
Make it make sense.
It doesn't. It's a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
He just got that. I don't know if you were on the call yet with me and Mark talking. He just got that contract for those. They're gonna do what, the armored cyber trucks now.
Yeah.
That's what, $400 million right there. He was awarded. So
yeah. And then they just announced that he wants to bring down the ISS, the International Space Station, so he can put his own up there. Like, come on, y'all. We can't, as a country, we can't be that blind. Yes, we can. We're bird boxing this whole situation. We're like, I don't see nothing. I don't want to see it. As long as I get mine. But and this is the way I feel. When you do wrong, you can do wrong, but only for so long until it rights itself. And when it does, it's going to be ugly. I just say, we pray that, people get through this thing safely and securely, but we know there's going to be some chaos, because people can't keep getting laid off or fired without having money and trying to survive. You got a household, you got kids. Somebody's gonna feel the pressure, and when people feel the pressure, eventually that pop will explode. That pop will come off.
You have government employees who voted for Trump, who's writing Trump, saying, "Hey, I voted for you. Why are you cutting my job?"
Yeah.
My brother, his wife works. She was working. They lived in Goldsboro. She worked for the Inspector General for the Pentagon. They gave her 30 days. They live in a house in Goldsboro. They said they were going to give out-of-state people leeway. They gave her 30 days to report to work or lose the job.
Wow.
So they're having to kind of mingle things up and get up there because of her salary. It's a type of salary that you relocate for.
Right.
But the callousness and the mean-heartedness of how they're doing this is that's not Captain America like, put it that way.
Absolutely.
No, absolutely not. And the thing that I don't think they took into consideration when they, started getting these jobs, a lot of these places have been working remotely since the world shut down almost 5 years ago.
Right.
Some of these people don't have a physical office to go back to.
Right.
Some people didn't renew those leases. Some people weren't paying for the office space anymore. So what are they gonna do?
And another thing that real estate lobby start complaining because they were losing money with all these leases of these companies. They were pushing these people to get these people back to work, even though they found that efficiency of people working from home was actually higher than when they were in the office.
Right. Yeah. Well, we got a lot
to go
to
all along that, man.
Yeah, we got that might be a whole nother discussion we have to come back for. And let me say this for people that are watching this, they're like, I thought this was a vitiligo related podcast. Well, I have vitiligo, so it is a vitiligo related podcast. But here's the thing though, we're people first. Yes, we live in a skin condition, but we're people first, and everything that's happening in this world is going to impact us and affect us. That's why when I have my conversations, I don't always talk about vitiligo, because I want to make sure that we are educated on other things, whether it's about relationships, whether it's the politics of the world, something as simple as a movie that really connects to the real world of what we're living in now. I mean, that's all important. So I'm going to keep having these discussions. Yeah, I'll bring on some more folks with vitiligo and have, and I plan on it soon. But I also feel like these are the discussions that are important that we have to have and people have to hear. And if I community through my skin and through my conversation, through the people I know, that's what I'm going to do. So before we wrap things up, guys, this has been a great conversation. I appreciate it. With anything, sometimes you run into those technical issues. So I got to go check out my computer and see what I need to take off. And also make sure I have the RAM and everything else so I can keep recording, or just get me a new computer. That might be it, because I've had this one for a while, so time for upgrade. But I'm gonna go around. Let's share some words of encouragement for people, because I know sometimes we can get into these discussions and gets a little heavy, and I don't want people to be discouraged by everything they see. So let's start with James, then we go to Brandon, and I'll wrap things up.
Yeah, so like I said, I did a video about a week or so ago, and it's just basically saying that in these times here, there are a lot of people who are kind of in despair, or kind of feeling like a hopelessness of what's going on, especially when it comes to the rollback of civil rights and things of that nature. And I was speaking specific to African Americans when I did this thing, but it can apply to everybody. But my thing is, I always say, just remember who we are and where we come from. And when you look at these conditions, we're a people that survived the Middle Passage. We're a people that survived slavery. We're the people that 60 years after slavery were building Black Wall Streets, right? We lost all these rights after Reconstruction, got them back. So the thing is, this is not anything that we're not foreign to. It's in our DNA to organize, to strategize, to let the pressures around us create special kind of diamonds. So that being said, is that anybody that feels a little bit of despair, just look back at our history, look back where we come from. And we have a history of overcoming these things. In the grand scheme of things, this is nothing compared to what our ancestors went through. So just read up, speak to the elders, get some wisdom, and move on.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, James. I appreciate it. See, that's why I always have James come on. He got something. He's gonna hit us with something deep. I try to keep it surface level, but he goes a little deep. So I appreciate that, though. Let's go to Brandon.
Ooh, how am I supposed to follow that? So, to kind of piggyback on some of the things that James was saying, we are resourceful people.
Yes. Yes.
We have endured worse, and at times, we've done more with less. One thing I learned early in life: no day or night lasts forever. Right? Tomorrow's a new day, new opportunities. You never know what's in store for you. So some doors may close, 3 or 4 more doors may open. So stay the course. Do not give up. Remain grounded. Whatever you can do as far as your faith, I'm not going to reduce it to one denomination or religion. I know we have a vast audience.
Yes.
Whatever or whoever you believe in, hold on to that. Be ready to get you through these trying times. We'll be just fine because if you look back at history, we've always found a way to persevere and overcome.
That's right.
Right? You may have your setbacks or your obstacles, but somehow, some way, we have always found a way to cross that finish line.
Yes.
And I don't see this being any different.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, James, for sharing that, those words of encouragement. And I'm going to follow up briefly just to say that, aspire to do the right thing. I know going back to the Captain America quote about, belief. Yes, we believe in a lot of things, but inspire to make good choices. Aspire to be the one that takes the high road even when it's hard, because I know sometimes we want to take the low road and be just like the ones that we're confronting, the ones that we're dealing with. Sometimes you have to be the better person. Sometimes you have to use your words. But let me not say that, because sometimes we got some choice words that we want to use that might not be appropriate. But make use some logic when you're interacting with people. Even if it includes some of those choice words, because sometimes you have to get it out, but try to think through this thing, how moving forward in life is going to help you. Yes, it's going to be hard. There's going to be some hardships, but we've, like James and Brandon both said, we've been there before with the hardships, and we're still here. No matter what happens, we're not going anywhere. No matter what happens, there's a point in our history we're not going back to. We're different people. We're a different breed of people. We're not moonwalking backwards, and you're not going to drag us backwards either. And just know that when we move forward, we're not moving forward alone. Our families are very diverse. Our families are supportive, yes. And when I say diverse, you look at the makeup of a lot of our families, it's not just including one race, or one ethnicity, excuse me. We are, a lot of our families are multicultural. So
my preacher son-in-law.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you go after one and try to destroy one, you've got several that you have to look at, and you have to figure out who is it that you are trying to get rid of. But just know that, guys, that's for anybody out there. Just keep moving forward. Just keep your feet going. I often say a baby step is still a step in the right direction. But as soon as you stop, that's when you fall. And we're not stopping. And I'm going to keep having these conversations, because they're important. And it may not be somebody's cup of tea, but don't drink the tea. Then drink some coffee. Go drink some water or something else. But this is for somebody out there. Somebody's going to hear this, and it's going to inspire them. Somebody else is going to hear it, and they might get upset. That's fine. There are other things you can listen to. There are other podcasts that may be right for you. It may be something that speaks to your heart, but I'm speaking to the ones that don't necessarily have to think like me, but that are open-minded to hear other discussions. You have to be open-minded. And I'm going to keep bringing people on that are knowledgeable, people that are open to having these, I feel like sometimes difficult conversations, or conversations we don't want to talk about. That's not the norm. We could have done a full movie review and bashed the movie, but we related it to modern times. So I'm going to stop my conversation here so I can wrap things up. As I always say on my podcast, love is important. Love your family. your friends, your co-workers as best you can, your neighbors, if you're cool like that. Sometimes we have neighbors we don't even talk to, but they might need some love. That stranger on the street that we pass that might have bumped into your shoulder. We don't know what that person's going through. You know, sometimes loving somebody is not necessarily saying anything. It's just acknowledging that they exist. But before you can do any of that, you've got to look in the mirror and tell yourself, I love you, because we don't do enough of it. You've been listening to Living Life and Love. I'm your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. Once again, my guests are Brandon and James. Thank you guys for being here.
Anytime.
And I do want to say one thing before we go. Go Mom.
Go Mom.
Yes, I had to bring my friend here. All right, y'all take care. And